So just how far can they go? Dreams take flight for England after last night's historic win. Victory thrilled a nation that's waited 55 years to knock out Germany. Next stop, Ukraine in Rome. But with quarantine keeping fans at home, support's going to be down to the expats.
We're lucky enough to be here. We have to be thankful for that and represent the people at home.
Also tonight, plans for a third booster vaccine to protect us from COVID this winter. Bill Cosby is set to be released from jail after the American comedian had his sex assault conviction overturned. And kitchen sink sinners.
Oh, you've been putting that in my bowl.
Why we all need to watch what goes down that plug hole.
This is the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Good evening. The raucous ranks of fans behind England's historic Wembley win over Germany were warned today that they can't back the team for its next crucial game. They're being urged not to travel to Rome for England's quarter-final on Saturday because COVID restrictions mean they won't be able to attend the match. Today has been a day of acclaim and celebration, including from the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition for last night's victory. But the team is going to have to beat Ukraine without the vocal support of its die-hard fans. Our sports editor Steve Scott reports.
Far from the madding crowd, stretching tired limbs and no doubt reflecting on their heroics last night. The peace of England's base camp, a world away from the Wembley cauldron where they buried their German jinx and gave the nation something to celebrate at last.
They're the moments that stick with you forever, you know. Of course, we want to make sure that it wasn't for nothing. We want to make sure we go and make it all worthwhile.
And there are many convinced the road ahead is now clear to do just that.
France are out, Holland are out, Germany are out, Portugal are out. You're now looking at it where you have to say that we have a chance. We're not conceding, we're gaining more and more confidence and momentum.
Momentum they now take to Rome's Olympic Stadium, where, because of travel restrictions, only those based in Italy will be sold tickets. Disappointing for many, a gift for some.
My German friend had a ticket for the quarter-final, thinking Germany would arrive, but obviously not. So now I have a ticket, so he's very kind to donate a ticket to me.
Back here, pre-COVID, Kunal Sapat hadn't missed a game in 6 years, so is understandably distraught.
We're lucky we've had all the games at Wembley so far, but the quarterfinals is a tough one to take, that we can't go, especially, as we go everywhere, home, away, across Europe, across the world, watching England.
Ukraine stand in England's way of the semi-final, but even there...
Because I can't see them lose against Ukraine. I can't see them lose against the Czech Republic or Denmark. The other half of the table is much more difficult, where you have Italy, Belgium and Spain. So England will be one of the two finalists.
If he's wrong, no doubt the manager and his young England squad will be kicking themselves for years to come. Well, there may be sparse England support in Rome. They know if they can make it back here for the semi-final, they'll be watched by 65,000 fans. It will also be on the back of the players' minds that this could be, for the vast majority of them, their last tournament that ends on home soil. So two pretty big incentives to get the job done in Italy.
Certainly are. Steve Scott at Wembley, thank you. Well, of course, as Gareth Southgate and his players were at pains to point out, the job is not yet done. The very small matter of winning the next 3 matches is needed for England to secure the Euros for the first time. Still, as Ben Chapman reports, ending all those decades of English agony at the hands of German football rallied the whole country behind the team.
Little symbols of optimism are starting to appear across England. Beating Germany after 55 years, 15 months into a pandemic, perhaps it's little surprise. Not least in Oldham, on what might be England's most enthusiastic street.
think if we win, I think it will be a big lift for everybody in the country.
Is that happening already? Can you
Yeah,
feel it?
yeah. At work today, everybody was singing the Vindaloo song, Come On.
Everything's been rubbish, hasn't it? Not been able to go anywhere, do anything. I think football brightens everyone's spirits.
Are you daring to dream we can win it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely, yeah.
It's not like we're not as bad as we used to be anyway.
Last night certainly wasn't bad for business at pubs desperate for a boost. For Birmingham's Button factory, every England game is a Saturday night's worth of trade after so long closed.
After having such a tough couple of months, you know, and then with the uncertainty where the restrictions were going to change, having the Euros and being able to have that, it keeps the wheel turning for everybody. It's making such a big difference for us.
Confidence in England's prospects is nothing new at Flake Fleet School in Lancashire. This video at the start of the tournament went viral. Today, teachers organised St George-themed lessons, and there was little doubt who'd be victorious this weekend.
England are a really good team now. Like, we've got really good youngsters, and Sterling will probably get his another goal.
Do you think England are going to bring it home?
Duh. Why would there's only one answer? Yes.
It's that kind of positivity we all need. Ben Chapman, ITV News.
Now it looks increasingly likely that those most vulnerable to COVID may be offered a third booster vaccine this autumn. If the plan goes ahead, the government would roll out a possible vaccination programme to provide added protection to up to 32 million Britons from September. And that would happen alongside the regular flu vaccine ahead of the winter months. Our health editor, Emily Morgan, has the details.
If there is anywhere that knows the value of the COVID-19 vaccine, it is surely here. A quarter of residents at this care home group died of the virus last year. Now everyone at Forest Manor Nursing Home is double dosed and enjoying the freedoms it gives. Preparations for a third jab then are very welcome.
The quicker that you can provide them with the maximum protection, the better. We had instances during the second wave of the virus where residents did contract COVID despite already having had the first dose. To put residents and in particular carers as well at the top of the list in terms of those individuals that should receive the booster jab first is a wise move.
We don't yet know whether we will need a booster jab, but the government wants to be ready.
We all want to see this nightmare come to an end, and that means get out there and get your vaccines. If you haven't already, please do so. And it also means having this booster program, because when we start that in September, that's our plan. It means that we can keep it at bay.
Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation has set out what the programme should look like. Vaccines would start in September. First in line would be the immunosuppressed, care home residents over 70s, the clinically extremely vulnerable and frontline workers. All adults over 50 and those at risk would be next, but no decisions been made on which vaccine we would get. Those on the JCVI point out a final decision will be made if there's evidence immunity from vaccines is waning.
We don't absolutely know that there's a need for a booster, but we're already making plans to do it just in case. But I think there is also a downside to this. You shouldn't really be giving people vaccines. Vaccines have side effects, as we all now know. They obviously have a cost. And if you're giving vaccines to people who don't really need them, you're not giving them to people who do.
Infection rates, though, are expected to rise during the winter in order to protect everyone. The plans are now in motion and the NHS is getting ready. Emily Morgan, ITV News.
Well, the UK has recorded a little over 26,000 new COVID cases today, and that is the highest daily number since January the 29th. But the daily death figure at 14 is much lower compared with over 1,000 recorded on that same day in January. In Scotland, nearly 2,000 coronavirus cases have been linked to fans watching Euro 2020 matches. Public Health Scotland said almost two-thirds of the positive cases reported travelling to London for Scotland's game against England on the 18th of June. And this figure includes almost 400 fans who were inside Wembley Stadium for that match. Now, within the last hour, the veteran American comedian Bill Cosby has had his conviction for sexual assault overturned. The ruling by the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania could pave the way for his release. And our US correspondent Emma Murphy is in Washington for us now. So, Emma, what can you tell us about what's going on with this?
Well, it sounds like America's dad, as Bill Cosby was known for generations, may be going home, potentially being released from prison during the course of today. That's the result of a Supreme Court ruling in Pennsylvania that his conviction for sexual assault and drugging a woman was not a safe conviction. The background, that back in 2004 he is said to have committed these offences that he stood trial for and was sentenced in 2018. But the court says that Mr. Cosby had agreed with the earlier prosecutor that he would not be convicted, would not even be tried on the charges, and then went on to give evidence in a civil case. What he said in that case was then used to bring the case that he was convicted of to the courts, and as a result, the Supreme Court says that he was not safely convicted. Now, he was one of the first people to be convicted as a part of the Me Too campaign, and this will be seen very much, I suspect, by a large number of people, that he is actually being released from prison and his conviction is being quashed as a result of a technicality. But these technicalities are very important in law, and the Supreme Justices in Pennsylvania are quite clear that this is the moment that Bill Cosby should be released from what was going to be a maximum 10-year prison sentence.
OK, Emma Murphy in Washington, thank you. Still to come on the ITV Evening News, the bad kitchen sink habits that cause fatbergs like this, and... Just why are the Wimbledon courts so slippy this year? Those stories and more after the break. Join me then. Hello again, welcome back. Now, the travel plans of hundreds of British holidaymakers were once again thrown into chaos today. Tourists were turned back at the check-in desks of UK airports because Malta was now demanding official printed letters proving that they have had the double jab. Now, Malta, along with a number of other destinations, had moved under the government's so-called green list early this morning. Garrett Vincent has more.
The departures halls at Heathrow are still quiet places, but in those countries on the green list, there are holidays to be had. These people were almost on the plane to Malta, but were told they could not fly because the Maltese government would not accept records on the NHS app as proof of their vaccinations.
I saved over a year for this holiday. So as far as I'm concerned, you know, you're looking for a holiday. You work hard, you know, that's what you do. You go on a holiday. So, you know, that's what I was expecting to do today. To my surprise, I got here, I'm just gutted, really, because I haven't got a holiday now. I've got to take the train home now. That's it.
Malta announced the change to its requirements only yesterday, the day before Malta was placed on the list of countries that the UK government is happy for its citizens to visit and not quarantine on their return. The statement released by the Maltese authorities is very clear. Passengers must present proof of a full vaccination in the form of an NHS certificate, and it must be printed on paper. But getting hold of that documentation can take up to 5 days, which presents an immediate problem for anyone hoping to travel this week. As well as Malta, the UK has added the Balearic Islands and Madeira to the green list from today, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy to go to those destinations.
It's surprising that governments have not worked more closely. They've had well over a year to get their act together, to create the same entry and exit rules between countries, to create the same digital apps to help us as consumers when we travel. And yet, they seem to be prolonging the problem for consumers. They seem to be making things worse simply because they're changing the rules so often.
Normality might be edging closer at home, but different countries are moving at different speeds, and that holiday you've been dreaming about might yet be disrupted by difficult reality. Geraint Vincent, ITV News.
Some of the day's other news now. And a shopping centre security guard was today found guilty of a string of gruesome cat killings. Steve Bouquet, who's 54, used a knife to kill 9 cats and attack a number of others in a deadly spree between October 2018 and June 2019 in Brighton in Sussex. Bouquet was finally captured after an attack was caught on a CCTV camera. He will be sentenced next month. In Canada, a sweltering heat wave is feared to have killed dozens of mainly elderly people. Temperatures in British Columbia reached a record 47.9 degrees Celsius. That is 118 degrees Fahrenheit on Monday. And a temporary truce has been agreed in the so-called sausage war between the UK and the EU, lasting until the end of September. It means the two sides have 3 months to find a solution to the dispute over shipping chilled meat products to Northern Ireland. New research has thrown up some surprising answers to what causes the giant lumps of fat that block up the sewers of our towns and cities. Fast food outlets are usually blamed for these so-called fatbergs, health hazards which can weigh several tons, stretch hundreds of metres and cost £100,000 to clear. But as our consumer editor Chris Choi found out, the ordinary domestic kitchen sink is also to blame.
Researchers became sink spies as volunteers agreed to help expose washing up bowl behaviour. Caught on camera, fat poured into the sewer system. Tony and Michelle in Norwich were surprised at what they were doing to their drains.
Oh yeah, I'm getting rid of the dirt chicken stuff.
Oh, you've been putting that in my bowl.
I drained some of it off, but I decided to pour some down the sink. I was under the impression that the washing up liquid would break it down, and so it would just wash away with normal water and not collect in the sewage.
I was shocked, really shocked. I think I wouldn't like to work at the water company to be dealing with that. That must be awful.
This is the problem. Giant clumps of fat and grease known as fatbergs. Sewer engineers in Birmingham released this photo showing their ongoing struggle to remove one weighing around 300 tonnes. And a fatberg in Liverpool was 250 metres long, costing £100,000 to remove. I showed the new kitchen sink footage to this sewer engineer.
Frustrating. It might alleviate the customer. They think they're getting rid of it all, but it only goes into our sewers and starts to block those further down.
Here, water company staff are clearing fat from a sewer. Blockages cost around £100 million a year. So you can see why researchers behind these new findings are saying it's about time we all got a bit of sink sense. Householders across England and Wales allowed cameras in, aiming to reduce the 300,000 sewer blockages a year.
What from these Grime Watch findings did you find most shocking?
The things that are most shocking are the times when people are pouring fats, oils and grease down the kitchen sink. That can cause incredible problems, not only for the home concerned, but if it gets into the sewers, it can cause sewer flooding.
Researchers hope this new evidence will persuade people to let cooking fat cool and then put it in the bin, because nobody wants something this unappetising coming from their kitchen. Chris Choi, ITV News.
Quick return to football now, and it is rare enough for a player to cross the Great Divide between rivals Liverpool and Everton, but no manager has done so since 1892. Until today. The former Liverpool manager, Rafa Benitez, has been announced as the new boss at Everton, following Carlo Ancelotti's resignation. While in charge at Anfield, he won the Champions League, but was criticised by Everton fans after being quoted calling Everton a small club. He may well, of course, have since changed his tune. Well, former champion Andy Murray is back in action at Wimbledon tonight, with the German opponent standing between him and a place in the next round. Earlier, fellow Brit Cameron Norrie chalked up a 4-set win, but the big controversy is the state of the grass this year, after Serena Williams withdrew yesterday after a fall during her match. Several players have claimed the surface is unusually slippery, as Martha Fairley reports.
Day 3 of Wimbledon, and in the queues to get in, they were keeping fingers crossed for better weather and no slip-ups on centre court.
How do you think Andy Murray will be doing today?
I hope well, because we want to see him, right, Nivan?
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to see Andy Murray do well today.
I think we're all quite optimistic after yesterday's football as well, so, you know, we're riding on the wave of that, so yeah, hopefully he'll do well.
We've been coming for the last 2 or 3 years, and we have noticed that there have been more slips. I don't know what you can do about it, really.
Oh dear.
The wettest start to the championships in a decade has made things decidedly difficult on the lush green grass. Adrian Mannarino was forced to retire injured from his match yesterday against Roger Federer, and Serena Williams, in what was possibly her last appearance at Wimbledon, also withdrew after an earlier slip injured her right leg. She left centre court in tears. The conditions clearly weighing on the mind of Andy Murray ahead of his match today, tweeting brutal for Serena Williams, but centre court is extremely slippy out there. But even under an open roof today, world number one Novak Djokovic took several tumbles as he won in straight sets against Kevin Anderson.
Hopefully, as the tournament progresses, I'll also fall less, even though I don't mind falling more if the result is winning a match.
For Britain's Katie Boulter, no slips, but sadly no success either on what was a magnificent centre court debut as she went out to number 2 seed Aryna Sabalenka. Well, centre court loves an underdog, and there's more to come, because in the last half hour or so, Andy Murray walked out to face German Oscar Otte. And he has already broken Otte's serve, and a few minutes ago was leading 4-3. He did slip at the start of the warm-up. Regarding that, the All England club has said preparation of the courts is to exactly the same meticulous standards as in previous years. Meanwhile, no problems for the British number 1 Dan Evans on court number 1. He's just gone through in straight sets.
Excellent. Martha, thank you very much indeed. And that is all for now. Tom's here with news at 10, but from me and all the team here, bye-bye.